Right, so it's an early start this morning. I've got my walkthrough that I did earlier to take with me to edit because it's a weird journey. I'm basically going to visit every capital city in the UK in one day. I've been clever, isn't it? Waking up that early to record that and then just leave it here. Groovy. Oh, don't worry, it's fine. Great, thanks very much. Right, and there's also something I wanted to talk to you about. The funk. Why am I talking about the funk today? Basically, I'm going today to have a creative kick-off on a job that's really, really complicated. But something I'm certain of is I'm going to have to employ the funk. What is it? And why do they keep on asking us to put it back in it? Capital number one. I was born in 1971, so ostensibly lived through the kind of golden years of funk, but didn't get to experience it because I was too young. So 1980, it was all pretty much over by then. I was only 9 at that point. I mean, my first record that I bought was by the Thompson Twins. I mean, even Nile Rodgers was shit in those days. By the time we were 13, certainly my contemporaries and I in West London, I think we felt that we'd been abandoned by the music industry. Hip-hop was in its heyday, but was still very much an underground movement at this point. The dance thing was about to happen, but hadn't happened yet, and disco was just embarrassing. So why had it become all so kind of shit? Well, I've always felt that it's FM radio, really. FM radio took it from being about singles to being about albums. And the minute it became about albums, the record companies went from being record companies to music corporations. And I think we could feel that. We could sense that in the music. It was corporate. It was safe. It wasn't even like lowest common denominator. It was just safe, perfect, anodyne, soulless, lacking in funk. I mean, if you look at Live Aid, the lineup for that amazing event, it was literally funkless. And there was also a new format, and the corporations didn't seem to or see the value in transferring their back catalogues onto it. No, they wanted us to listen to the new stuff. They wanted us to listen to Brothers in Arms by Dire Straits. And with this change in format came a sense, I believe, that young people were no longer dictating the repertoire. What was being played on the radio, on TV channels. And remember, this is in the day where there are only 3 TV channels and 4 radio stations, if you don't include the really shit local ones. Suddenly, we were like being controlled. Our tastes were being kind of moulded by white middle-class men dressed in suits bought from Next, and really shit digital synths. So my generation basically started digging around in second-hand music shops for the stuff that these guys didn't want to make anymore. And we called it rare groove. Almost like a Bitcoin of its day, a currency all of its very own. Eddie Harris, Roy Ayers, Ronnie Laws, Billy Cobham, Donald Byrd, the Mazzell brothers, and our birthday presents to each other, mixtapes. And on one of those mixtapes that was given to me was the track Funkadelic by a band called Parliament. And the rest, as they say, is history. So for the following 10 years, I pretty much listened exclusively to funk music of that era. And from that moment on to now and till the day I die, I imagine, it's made me a funketeer, and it informs my rhythmic interpretation of pretty much everything that I do. So, what is it? Whilst its Afro-Caribbean roots are clear, it immediately, I think quicker than any form of music, became a multiracial, global phenomenon within months, years of its conception. You know, Woodstock, the only multiracial band other than Santana, was Sly and the Family Stone. By 1974, white Scottish guys were having hits with funk tracks like Pick Up the Pieces. If there was any direct comparisons, it would be maybe flamenco, which doesn't really describe a style. It describes a feeling, a spirit, duende. And whilst it has been used for protest, it is largely, for me, the spirit of celebration, the things that are wonderful in life: food, sex, birth. And the reason I think it's universal is because we can all count to one. And there was one man who found the one, and that was James Brown, the godfather of the holy trinity of funk. James Brown's theory was it was all about the one. Basically, you could do whatever you wanted to do in the rest of the bar or the 2 bars, provided everyone came together and hit that one. So, for example, with Stevie Wonder's Superstition. So it's 2 bars and you're just smacking that one. And this is for me why funk is kind of like all about, it's kind of sexy. It's imagine you're kind of starting on the one and then you tickle and there's a little bit of stroking, a bit of kissing, business, and then you smack them on the bum for the one. I think a lot of people, when they imitate Nile Rodgers' very distinctive guitar style, his kind of chic style guitars, they make it very offbeat. It's not. He's always on the one. It's and that's why breakbeat really embraces the funk, because it'll take 2 bars, maybe 4 bars of a kind of a breakbeat in the middle of a record and return to them repeatedly, usually with a cymbal crash. I think an example of something kind of actually quite recent is it Crazy Right Now, the Beyoncé or the Destiny's Child track? If you check that out down below, it's like boom, boom, bang in on the one. Sly Stone and his family Stone, they found the riffs, and when the riffs were good enough, they made sure they all played them together simultaneously. This claim that Jimmy Page has made that Led Zeppelin were the first band to double up guitar and bass riffs is not true. Hit It and Quit It by Funkadelic 1971 is proof of that. Jimmy Page does have a very good record collection though. George Clinton with Parliament, they found the melody. Getting down just for the funk of it. And they got quite stoned doing it. Really melodic lines sitting over the funk. When you hear melodies like that over funk, it's P-Funk. And then came the Messiah, who created 5 of the greatest consecutive albums of all time. Stevie Wonder. And then for us piano players, Herbie Hancock showed us the way, gave us an Axis All Areas pass. And where electroacoustic pianos are concerned, so ignoring the synths and stuff, there's a kind of holy trinity of those too. There's the Fender Rhodes electric piano, there's the clavinet, and then there's the Wurlitzer, which is why I call this my funk station. Easy on the jazz though. One way of making this seriously funky it's kind of like the SM58 of guitar pedals. When looking for a wah-wah pedal, there is only one choice. Jim Dunlop's Crybaby. And its effects, well, it's like a fucking pandemic. It literally infects everything that we listen to. Without it, you don't get heavy metal, you don't get hip hop, you certainly don't get breakbeat, I'd say maybe even drum and bass. It literally runs through and courses through the veins of everything we listen to. And then there are the bands that are definitely not funky, who will surprise us from time to time. Led Zeppelin do it time and time again. Peace Frog, The Doors, and even U2 has been known to kind of lay down some grooves. But beware the flunk. It surrounds us. And what is the litmus test of that? You know, some people would say that's funky. I wouldn't say that. I would say that's kind of groovy. It's a cheeky little groove, but it's not funky because it just isn't on the one. Or as Herbie would do it. Push it. And it's that simple, really. You know, if you take, for example, this track by Maroon 5, listen to that, you know, I think that's flunk, not funk. And if you compare it to even, say, something like Rihanna's Umbrella, now, yes, it's not that groovy, but it's like the producers have gone, we're going to put just everything on the one. We're going to, like, what have you got out back there? Can we put that on the one as well? Yeah, and in the cupboards, under the stairs, could you pull that over? We've got to literally throw it all on the one. So funk versus flunk, how do you tell the difference? Well, it is remarkably easy. Why is the Maroon 5 thing flunk? And why is Umbrella by Rihanna funk? Which I think many of you will argue with, it's not particularly groovy, it's quite straight. Well, if I may be so bold, which one of those tracks would you rather have sex to? I rest my case. Food sex, birth. That's what funk's about. Do I like this cheese because it tastes kind of nice, like you get in a burger? Does it taste like a cupcake, a birthday cake? No, it tastes kind of like someone's bottom. Just like this, it tastes like rotten grapes. But what do I like about this stuff? Well, it stimulates me. It creates a kind of euphoria in me. And I think it's because basically it's funky. Have I defined funk? No, it's a bit difficult to do when you're travelling around the place. But have I been to every capital city on the UK mainland today? Yes. Edinburgh, Cardiff, London, Edinburgh. So I've achieved something totally pointless. I listed my favourite 10 funk tracks in the video description below, and I'd really appreciate it if you could maybe put forward your funk favourites in the comments. Thanks as always for keeping me company. If you like what I do, hit like. If you haven't subscribed yet, plenty of strange trips to come. And if you want to be notified the next time I put up a video, hit the little bell button. See you next time.